They're accessible, to almost any audiophile. So, and I also, one other thing I like to say is I appreciate two-way designs. I meant to say this earlier, when it comes to loudspeakers, I have a couple of three-way loudspeakers, and I'm not opposed to three-ways, but I have my own personal kind of analogy between amplifiers and loudspeakers. It's not a great analogy, but it's just something to think about. It's a thought experiment of sorts. Think about what a crossover system has to do. Think about a full range speaker versus what a crossover has to do. And think about it in terms of what a Class A amplifier versus a Class AB amplifier has to do. Let's start with amplifiers. A Class AB amplifier has to take a beautiful, perfectly continuous signal and chop that son of a bitch in half and utterly destroy it and then stitch it back together again. And then when it stitches it back together again, there's going to be a scar. Always. That's called crossover distortion. And then it's got to compensate for it with feedback, negative feedback. Class A amplifiers don't do that. A Class A amplifier amplifies the entire continuous signal without chopping it in half. It does so at the expense of running very hot, and oftentimes it has to have a capacitor, a DC blocking capacitor in the output stage, which may cause some other problems. There's always trade-offs. Always trade-offs in designs. But personally, I'd rather not chop my signal in half. Personally. It's just, peace of mind. Although it doesn't mean Class AB amplifiers cannot sound fantastic. Doesn't mean that. I got to wrap up soon. My cigar's getting low. Let's move on to speakers. Full range speaker. One driver handles everything. Everything. Just like a Class A amplifier. However, there are trade-offs. In order to handle deeper bass, that driver's got to be large. And a larger driver, the high frequencies will start beaming. You might add a whizzer to it, but then the interaction between the whizzer and the cone starts to cause some problems in the mid to high frequencies, and you never can get the extraordinarily delicate high frequencies out of a larger cone. But you get wonderful mids, deep bass, and highs, but you never get crossover distortion. Crossover distortion. You get the ultimate in coherency. And there's some other issues, but you get the ultimate in coherencies. But there's always trade-offs. Moving over to a multi-driver speaker, you've got to chop the spectrum. Let's go to a two-way. You've got to chop the spectrum in half. You've got to pick a crossover point. You got a woofer and a tweeter. You got to chop the spectrum in half. You got to pick a point where the woofer is going to hand off the spectrum to the tweeter. And oftentimes you've got to have a choke or a low pass filter on the woofer. Not always. You can sometimes let the woofer run its inherent, its inherent frequency response. But sometimes it gets kind of rough in the mid range, so you need a low pass filter. Apparently the Urez has one, because it says right here that it's got Jansen inductor. So if it has an inductor, it's within the woofer, so it's got one. It's got a low pass filter in the woofer section. And then you need a high pass filter for the tweeter. So you're chopping it in half, and then in the crossover region, these speakers have to hand off to each other, and you run into all kinds of issues there. Electrical issues and acoustic issues, both. All kinds of issues. And oftentimes, those issues happen right dead smack in the middle of the critical voice regions. Right where you don't want it to happen. That's why I'm hoping with this design, they push that crossover out of the voice regions. We'll see. And then, of course, when you have a 3 or 4-way design, then you have, if you have a 3-way design, you have to have 2 crossover regions, and so on and so forth. The more crossovers you have, the more. So, and then within the crossover regions, you have phase distortion. And then all of these things translate, when the sound finally comes out of the speaker, into acoustic interactions as well. Weird stuff happens in the acoustic realm. Enough said. Everything's a trade-off. A skilled designer can work around this stuff, but just giving you this is what I call the art of the conversation. This is actually a review. We're just talking. This is the first part of a review of this Tecton. And this is amazing. I'm doing the first part of a review. I don't even know the name of the damn speaker. And I don't even own it yet. I own it. It's not even here yet. So let's call this one of the most unique reviews on the internet. I'm reviewing a speaker that hasn't even arrived, and I don't even know the name of the damn thing. That's just how I roll, folks. So tomorrow, I've already chatted for 41 damn minutes. I think it's enough. Tomorrow I'll try to call the company maybe and get some answers to some of these questions and fill you in. But I hope you enjoyed this, and I can't wait to get these babies. We're going to do some listening tests together, some comparisons, all the things that other reviewers won't do. We're going to violate all the friggin' rules. All of them. We'll do it together. We'll have a good time. Screw the rules. These guys that won't let you these reviewers that won't let you hear a speaker. These guys sit there and talk for 5 minutes and give you a mic review, and they won't even let you hear the damn thing. They got the damn thing sitting right next to them. You can't hear one note of one song. Can you believe that shit? Unbelievable. We're going to do it. And I hope these speakers turn out to be fantastic. Hey, if they're not, I'll give you a Clipshorn style review. I'm not afraid to say something sucks. even when it pisses off the sycophants. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. And I'll pick up real soon, y'all. Take care. This is Stereo Police signing out. I gotta get back to work. Believe it or not, I have gainful employment. Ciao.